Welcome to CareyBrosPros, the podcast for construction pros by construction pros. Now, here are James and Morris Carey.
Hey, it's really great to have you with us for another episode of CareyBrosPros. I'm James Carey.
And I'm Morris. James and I know that both the plans and the design are crucial to a successful construction project. Believe me when I say that our construction drawings are used by absolutely everyone who works on any one of our projects. As such, we're always striving to provide the best clarity and detail for our customers as quickly as possible and with as few mistakes as possible. And on this edition, we're going to talk about an amazing CAD design software that does just that and how you can make it a part of your toolbox.
Yes, and I learned the hard way that not only do you need great design, but it's terrific if you hold the plans right side up. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Our guest is Scott Harris, and Scott is the Vice President of Chief Architect Software, and he's also a certified kitchen and bath designer. Scott, welcome to CareyBrosPros.
Well, James, Morris, it's an honor to be on the show, and thanks for having me.
Remodeling Babe and I both use Chief Architect to create all of our designs and plans, and we love it. Scott, would you please explain who or what types of business would want to consider using a design software such as Chief Architect?
Well, really, it's a spectrum of the professional business that has remodeling. Maybe they're kitchen and bath designers. Maybe they're building brand new homes. So it's anybody that's going through the process of creating a permit set and then also using that information to help their clients see what the project's going to look like.
I'm going to go off script for a second because I just love this software. And one of the things that I have found amazing about Chief Architect is that it is sensitive to the remodeler. That is, there is a way of designing an existing house, which you must do for the building department, and then putting the addition on and costing only the items that are in the addition. And I think that that is an amazing feature. And I have to compliment you. I want to ask you, does the software replace a designer or architect, or is this something that can be used to assist either in the early stages or late in the project?
Yeah, there's a few different ways that people use the software. On the one hand, you have the conceptual ideas. So somebody may want to expand on, maybe push out a kitchen, and they just want to see what the space might look like. So the 3D aspects really can help the client see what the project's going to look like. And then when you get to the phase of actually producing the documents that maybe the building department requires, architects obviously can use the software, designers can use the software. Sometimes they may use an outside software to complement it. Maybe some people have AutoCAD details. So you can bring those in and work with outside designers if they're using something else. So we're able to provide the ability to get full permit drawings as well as the conceptual drawings that you can show to the clients.
Oh, you mean a software collaboration of sorts?
Well, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Talking back and forth with your plans is a really neat feature. So you interface with AutoCAD as well, huh?
Well, a lot of the designs and architects out there have AutoCAD details as well as some of the manufacturers.
Sure.
And so you don't want to recreate something, and you want to take advantage of using those details. Maybe somebody has a detail of how a deck ledger screws into the side of the house. There's no reason to recreate that. So we import those AutoCAD-type files, and allows you to just be a lot faster and productive when you're producing your drawing set.
I love it.
Boy, that makes a lot of sense. Now, Scott, you know that I'm not the brother that uses your product. I have other responsibilities in our business, and that's probably because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. But a lot of folks that are like me in our business who may be talented craftspeople may also be reluctant to venture into new technology because of the learning curve. So can you speak to that and how difficult it may be to learn the software and when they can expect to be up and running?
That's really a great question. I think that's a common reaction that some of the people have out there is how hard is it to really kind of get up to speed and kind of the fear and uncertainty of it. And what we have done, like any new tool that you buy, is we put some resources together, whether it's a training video series on the quick steps in getting started. And then we dig a little bit deeper in if you're going to be creating maybe a Dutch gable design or a cantilevered roof. We put together pretty detailed videos that kind of walk you step by step through it. And we also do webinars, and then we do physical training classrooms just to make sure that you have the right tools to be successful as you learn the software.
You know, those videos, Morris has shared some of the videos with me, and I have to tell you, like anything else, whether you're doing gardening, cooking, home improvement, or learning a new software, a well-produced video is worth its weight in gold. So here's something that's of interest. People like to see their building projects integrated into the big picture. That is to say, landscaping and the completed package. Does your software allow the user to create a fully landscaped terrain drawing?
Well, with Chief Architect, we focus on everything residential, and that may require a site plan. If you've got an existing footprint and you're adding onto it, you need to show where the setbacks are, as well as any landscaping features, whether it's a sloped lot or a flat lot or different terrain features that you need to show in there. We support all of those components. So anything to do with the house, the landscaping, the site plan, framing, yeah, Chief Architect does support that.
I just can't say it enough. I love Chief Architect. Scott, I pretty much know how long it takes to create a plan for my use. How long does it generally take an experienced individual to create a basic set of plans for, say, a 2,500 square foot residence, foundation to roof?
Yeah, well, I usually start that answer with a question, and I'll ask, how many typical pages would you have in your plan set? And I think once you understand what somebody would be expected to submit to the building department, maybe it's 10 pages where you have your foundation, your framing plan, your site plan. I think that it's a function of being able to go through our quick start videos, come up to speed. I typically would say that's an 8-hour process. And then when you're actually then able to produce the drawings and you take the design aspect out of it, so you've already figured out what the material selections are and what the floor plan is going to be, I think you're going to probably be in with something where a typical user is going to be able to do that in about a day.
And I know for a fact that you're not exaggerating, and I know for a fact that some designs, the more simpler designs, can be done even more quickly. I just can't believe how well organized the software is.
So here's what I want to know. So Morris is on the design end, and I'm on the sales end with the client. And it's my job to paint a picture and overcome objection. So these days, we're not living in a 2D world. My wife, simply as an example, does not have the ability to interpret a 2D drawing. She can look at elevations, and she doesn't get it. But if you share a 3D rendering with her or some virtual reality, she's on board. So can you speak to that technology and how Chief Architect is making it easy for folks like the Carey brothers, who are design build contractors, to share that with their clients?
Well, I think your wife's not alone. Most people can't convert an elevation or a floor plan into what it's going to look like. And if you're in a position where you're busy and you want to make sure the client's on board, the easiest way to do that is to be able to show it to them in 3D. And we can produce really nice 3D drawings that will allow you to see what the space is going to look like. But what we've allowed you to do is you can actually export that entire 3D model and then share it with the client on their phone or on a tablet, and they can virtually navigate through the model and be able to see what the new space is going to look like. And a lot of times that helps push the project along much faster and makes them feel comfortable about the fear and uncertainty about the remodeling aspect.
I haven't gotten quite this far yet, Scott, but I'm just wondering, I understand that Chief can create a video walkthrough that you don't have to touch. You can create the walkthrough and then show it as a video to the client. Is that true?
Yeah, that's part of the, our whole virtual reality aspect of the program. You can create a 3D render. You can draw a walkthrough path through the house. Maybe it winds through the kitchen, up the stairs, down the hallway, and you can record it. And like you said, you can share it with them, put it on YouTube, put it on your webpage. But you can also export that entire model where they can virtually navigate themselves through the model however they'd like. And that includes being able to maybe go out onto the job site, turn on the background camera on your tablet, and you can actually see exactly what you might see on the actual building site itself. It's a pretty fantastic thing. There's a physical walk button, so you could push the physical walk button. We call it augmented reality. And the client can actually walk through the model virtually as if it were already completed. It's a pretty neat tool. We call it the 3D viewer.
Wow.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It just keeps getting better and better.
What kind of computer is required to use Chief Architect, and what does Chief Architect cost?
So a lot of times you might think that it requires a fairly sophisticated computer, and really any computer that you've got in the last couple of years most likely will support it. We do recommend a little bit higher-end video card in your computer, and it will run either on the PC-type computer or the Mac computer. It's the same software. And you can purchase Chief Architect. We have the full residential version. It's called Premier. It sells for $2,795. You can also rent that for $199 a month if you choose just to do it for a month. And then we have a version that's everything inside the house. We call it Chief Architect Interiors, and that sells for $1,995. And you can also rent that for $199 a month. So a couple of options for flexibility on how you'd like to use the software.
I got to tell you that that price at $2,700 is pittance for what you provide in the way of a CAD. And I have 28 years of experience as a CAD operator, and I was in prison for 27 of those 28 years.
And I have 28 years of experience in being the brother of a CAD operator.
And, one of the things that I had to do on my old program was that if I made a correction to the plan, I had to go in and correct the elevations and the sections and all the other components, the electrical plan, the plumbing plan, the heating plan, everything. What I've discovered, and I'm not sure, I don't want to be talking out of turn, but it's my understanding, or at least my experience so far, that when I correct a mistake in either an elevation, a section, or the floor plan, that mistake is corrected on every other single view of the plan. Am I talking out of turn, or is that correct?
Sounds like you have it figured out, Morris. What I typically always recommend for a designer is get a couple of monitors, and then you, depending on what you're doing, can design in your floor plan view, an elevation view, or in a 3D perspective view, it's the same model. So anything you're doing in those different views will automatically update. So if you're going to be